Mr. Wonka worked the factory. Change the world. Your imagination.
It could change the world.
On we go.
Hey y'all, welcome to another vlog. This is my final vlog in my year-long reread of the Stormlight Archive, and I can tell you that it's going exactly how I thought it was gonna go. This book is trash. This is not a personal attack to anybody who loves this series. Please don't make a book your entire personality. It's okay not to agree if you don't like what I'm gonna say. If you don't like hearing negative reviews about things that you like, do not watch this video, because I will come for you if you come for me in my comments. Hi, I'm Steph, and I'm doing this critical reread for multiple reasons, but one, because I used to love this series, and then I saw some things wrong with it, and I was like, that's a little bit sus behavior. Brandon Sanderson, where are we going with this? But then the entire fandom was an echo chamber of, he's amazing, he could do no wrong. And I'm like, hold the phone, slow down. Somebody needs to talk about this. So I've decided to be that somebody, because journey before destination. This is the last book I will be reading from Brandon Sanderson. And here are my issues. Here's what's going wrong. If you've been following me, wonderful. If you're new to this, there's literally over 20 hours of additional content that you can watch. I will link it all in the description below. There's live shows. There's also a live show for this, which I don't know if is going to be coming out before or after this vlog comes out. But if you want to talk with me and my friends who are reviewing this critically, to have constructive criticism about this very popular series, and YOLO, I don't care. That being said, I'm currently about 200 pages in. This is what 200 pages looks like right here. Okay. That's about the length of a bunch of other novels that I've read. Probably the average novel that I read is like here to here, like between 300 and 400 pages. You know, this is 1400 pages. Has no business being that long. And I can tell you right now, there's at least 100 pages out of the 200 that I read that I would cut out. Absolutely unnecessary. All right. Here are some of my complaints. Dalinar says to Gavilar that he feels a kinship with the Parshmen. Bro, since when? Since when? When it was suggested before in previous books to, like, you know, get rid of slavery, free the Parshmen, get rid of forced labor of the indigenous peoples of this planet. After the humans learned, maybe I'm the a-hole. He was like, no, let's not do that. That's not a good idea. No. But all of a sudden he has kinship. You know what? I hate you, Dalinar. I hate you so much. He's such a pain in my ass. What we've come to learn up to this point in the series is that the Parshmen were actually magically turned into people who lost their sense of self and are from the Singers, who are the indigenous people of this world, and that the humans are actually the colonizing body. And all of this is taken from what we know in our real world situations as the treatment of native populations, the treatment of indigenous peoples, the colonizing body, telling the marginalized body to be more exceptional and to like do better and serve the oppressor, and all of that has been happening, and we've been rooting for Dalinar the entire time, the king of our colonizers, because why would we do anything else? And it's just it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Here's a scene that really pissed me off. Okay, so we get to a part where Dalinar is basically giving royalty status to Kaladin because his son doesn't want it, because his son also realized that he's an asshole. And he can't give it to Jasna because she's got her hands full with other things. So he's like, here, Kaladin, you're the best we got. And Kaladin, who's been dealing with his mental health, mind you, it's been 2 days since the end of the previous book where he said like the fourth ideal, and somehow magically resulted in him being able to surpass his depression and mental boundaries, and like he's okay enough to help other people, right? No, absolutely freaking not. He needs a break. He needs support, and they just keep asking more of him, and I'm so tired of Kaladin not being able to just get the support that he needs to healthily work through because he needs to push through as the exceptional lower class person, right? Anyway, but he's light eyes now. He's got the light eyes. He's got the physical marker that makes him part of the oppressing body. You know, part of the people who benefited from slavery. So he's light eyes like most of the time now. So it just makes sense that he's going to become a royal person. But Dalinar says to him, like, you can't, I've learned that, you know, we're kind of all the same, and that dark eyes are no different from light eyes. And I know that you harbor feelings against light eyes, but you can't let this keep eating you away from the inside. You just got to let it go, man. And then they move on to talking about other things. And that has been the crux of my issue with this entire series. That is so messed up. That is so messed up of him to say. Because they haven't solved that problem. They have not solved the classism and metaphors for racism in this book. So it's like, okay, you know that. What are you going to do about it, Dalinar? Nothing. He's done nothing. And then he's telling the person who was previously a slave, get over your feelings. My jaw dropped. My jaw dropped when I read that. I was angry, okay? My angry annotations. Just screaming F you to Dalinar. Because no, Kaladin does not have to get over his feelings. He does not have to. He is allowed to be angry. And it's the same reason that Moash was allowed to be angry. Because this system benefits on the destruction of marginalized bodies. The Parshmen, the war with the Singers is helping their economy because they are warmongering people. The plight of brown-eyed people, the subservient class, is what keeps the society going. And it's like, okay, sure, our royal characters, our monarchy, our emperors, our kings and queens, they're learning that it's like, theologically, the idea, like, philosophically, this idea is bad. Right? We know now, slavery's kind of bad, you know? We shouldn't do that. Racism is kind of bad. But, like, they haven't done anything with it. So, like, why are we here? What are we doing? I don't know. I'm just angry. I'm just mad. So I'm ready to rip this to pieces. Also, Wit found a loophole in the contract. And, like, the only note that I have to tell you is that this whole side plot, because this entire book takes place over 10 days. It's been a long time between book 1 and book 4, but this one takes place over 10 days. And the fact that this whole main side plot, like this whole B plot, this whole thing happening with loopholes in the contract and how he figured it out and all this stuff is boring. It's doing nothing for me. It's like, why? We didn't need this. Just be more creative in figuring out how to make the whole champions thing more interesting. I didn't need this. Nobody needed this. But it's where he's decided to go, and I'm bored. It's so boring. I don't care. So that happened. But let me give you a positive. Let me give you a positive, okay? Maybe we deserve some positives. A character actually said the word sex. I was very impressed. Because after all the fade to black moments we've had, I'm like, wow, characters know what sex is. That's nice to know. That's nice that that's in their vocabulary, to actually say the thing that they've been doing instead of like shaming it this entire time. It's a whole other thing. But we also got a shower scene. Showers were invented in this world now, and they had a shower scene, and I like that. So good. Yes. Okay. And Jasna is giving Demi energy, which is like fine. So okay, we got some positives there. Good. Proceeding to the dumpster fire. I'm telling you to click away. That's all I got. See you later.
1 hour later.
It's like not that much later and I'm mad. Okay, I'm really mad. So here's what's going on. Things are finally happening that I wanted characters to address, like characters saying, hey, maybe it's kind of messed up that we think about people this way. Or hey, maybe racism and classism and all that stuff is actually like really bad. But the way that it's happening feels like Brandon Sanderson is just checking off a box. Feels like he's just writing in these one-off sentences to have characters say something in response to what fans or people who actually like think critically about this series or voice any uncomfortability with, to make everybody happy. And I kind of hate it because he's not doing it well. Like, all right, we have a character who finally addressed the racism, or we have Shallan out of nowhere addressing a concern that I seriously had, me and my friends had, about a certain group of people being described in a way that was compared to an exotification of Asian features and like comparing them to children, and it was just very weird and uncomfortable. And she has this revolutionary thought, hey Shallan, maybe it's not a good idea to keep comparing them to children, because I'm doing it to a person right now who doesn't even look like that, who's not even from there. I'm just like bringing in my biases. And then she just keeps going with her mission day, whatever she's doing. And I'm like, Shallan has never been on anything but the moral high ground when it comes to conversations about challenging her personal views on the subject of different groups of people, how she perceives them, their values, like who deserves to be upset. She has never been challenged on her views regarding the whole like racism aspect of these metaphors. So where is this revelation coming from? It just seems so out of character for her because nothing has happened to give her this growth. And so it just feels like an insert on Sanderson's part to address something that people have had a problem with. And it's like, but this didn't feel like it was the original intent. And so it just feels like he's forcing in things to check off boxes to say like, oh, look, I'm inclusive, right? I have queer characters and I have characters that care about social justice, right? It's fine. It's good. It's dandy. I did my part. Move on with the storyline. And it's like, no, this is not enough. This is not deep enough. This is not nuanced enough. We are still mostly from the oppressor's POV. Like, no, none of this is enough, Sanderson. I am not satisfied. So I'm just saying, we are over 5,000 pages into the series, and all of the issues that I've had along the way are not being addressed, or if they are, I'm going to say somewhat addressed, it is so poorly done. And I'm over it. I'm upset. I'm angry. Anyway, I'm moving on. Goodbye. While my car warms up, because I'm getting ready to go gallery hopping in New York City, I'm just going to take a second to tell you how shit Wind and Truth is. It's shit. This has to be a contender for one of the worst books that I have ever read. Why is Kaladin, his only personality trait is playing the therapist of Roshar? We didn't need this. He has no personality. Every chance he gets, he's trying to practice literally being a therapist with the support of Syl. Mind you. To Seth in preparation for other things, and it's like the advice that he's giving is kind of shit because he hasn't been able to work out anything for himself. He hasn't had a chance to breathe. And it's like just telling someone with depression or whatever of mental health, you know, who needs mental health support, well, if you think good thoughts, you kind of have a weapon against the bad thoughts. It's like, no, that's not just it. That's not just it. I'm personally offended by this. It's like, yo, ooh, it's so surface level and I hate it. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. Like I'm almost 500 pages in and everything just keeps looping the same conversations. Shallan is having all of these revelations, thoughts that I wanted her to have to counteract her xenophobic tendencies. I wanted her to have these thoughts 3 books ago almost, and she's having them now, but without any kind of like events or motivators, or nothing is transpiring to actually make her think, maybe I'm the asshole, maybe I was xenophobic, maybe I was wrong for this. No, she's just suddenly thinking to herself, maybe I shouldn't be racist or prejudiced and all these other things. And it's like, great, but what caused that? Because I've been begging for this for 4 books, but if you just do it out of the blue, it holds nothing. because she doesn't understand why she was wrong. She doesn't apply it to things she did in the past where it was like, hey, that was kind of fucked up. That's a perfect example. Have some remorse for what you did in this scene, way back here. But nothing. So like, and also like, so far none of this applies to the one person of the enemy body, the indigenous body to this world, who is present and a part of their posse, Relaine. None of this has applied to Relaine so far, and it's kind of pissing me off. It's pissing me off. I hate it. I hate it. The sibling is a Navani apologist, and I can't stand it. I cannot stand Navani's logic. I cannot stand the way that the sibling and the Stormfather are they just keep bending to Dalinar and Navani as if they're like, oh, let me be a child and cast my eyes down because I guess I was wrong. Like, why can't Dalinar and Navani be wrong? Why do they always have to be right? Why is everybody kissing Dalinar's feet when he's not even in the room? Like, I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't think he's done anything to deserve it. I don't think that we have enough gravitas as to all the things that he has done in the past. I think just the things that Navani did technically in World 3 days ago, with the whole thing that transpired with Moash and what she said to him about being a traitor and all that shit, I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad because none of it goes back to the fact that all of this was caused by systemic oppression and slavery and like caste systems, all of this that were done by the Alethi and by Navani and Dalinar and by their group of people. The upper echelon caused all these problems, and yet they keep ending up on the moral high ground and none of it is addressed, and they're not taking responsibility for it. Like, just because they're saving the world for their own skins does not mean that they are taking responsibility for it. I'm angry. I'm mad. I'm gonna go have some fun today because I deserve it. But I would not be surprised if this is a long ass video, because I got things to say. I'm so excited for this live show. I'm gonna rip it to pieces, and I have no remorse for Brandon Sanderson right now. I'm very upset with him. Also, stay tuned because I have things to say about how this book is propaganda, and it's kind of pissing me off. It really is. There is absolutely no reason why I am at 1,000 pages and Storygraph says that I am only at 75%. My heart is full of sorrow. This book is so freaking long, man. I'm right here. I've got that much left, and I've got 2 days until the live show, and I'm at the point where I just don't care. I don't care. I just want main plot, because there's too many things that make me ferociously upset. This book, the plot is gone. It's just gone. It comes back every once in a while, but then it's just, if you see it floating away, it's just like, goodbye, goodbye. And I'm like, no, come back. Please, plot. Please come back. We need you. It's like, no, I'll be back on day 9. Oh, I need you now. Oh my God. Dalinar's chapters seem to be the only ones that are really driving this plot forward, because honestly, whatever is happening with Seth and this journey feels so out of place. Between that and then some of the things that are going on in Adolin's and then Shallan's, like, they're all related technically, but because I feel like they're so long, and there's also things happening in there that to me feel like they have no gravitas on the bigger problem at large, I feel like everyone's twiddling their thumbs, because we didn't need all of this. I didn't need this. I feel that there is no urgency. There is no urgency for a book that is literally formatted with a 10-day countdown to when something really bad could happen. There is no urgency. There's no gravity. There is no weight. And so I'm like, I don't care. Why am I getting Shallan's wedding description now? Why am I getting this now? Why didn't I get it in the book where it happened? Only because we need it in order to fit in another character? We didn't need that. You should have given that to me when it was happening. I don't care about this now. We have more pressing things to care about. And exactly the thing that I said, like, I don't even know how many live shows ago it was that me and my friends Scylla and Sarah all talked about, which is we didn't want this story to go into the direction of the colonizer and the colonized having to put aside their differences to achieve a goal of defeating a bigger evil, because I do not trust that this story is going to come back to those problems, which will still exist because they've never really been addressed. Like, okay, we have some characters here and there who are saying, humans were the assholes. Maybe we were kind of wrong. But the way that these situations are resolved is more than a character having a one-line thought of, maybe I was the asshole. I need to see more than that. That is not enough for me. You can't draw from systems of oppression that are based in reality that people can relate to as the foundation to create tension within a story and then just one-line it away. Because what do I do with that? It's boring. It's irrational. It's insulting to my intelligence. I can't stand it. And things just aren't making sense. Things aren't making sense. Okay. I've never liked Shallan. I've never liked Shallan because she's been extremely xenophobic and a horrible character for discussing mental health, and I never liked her relationship with Kaladin. I didn't like the way it was being pushed. I didn't like the whole chasm scene. I'm not going to go back into all the reasons where I do not like what was done with Shallan's character and what she represents, because I've been saying that for almost a year now. But what really pisses me off is we have two characters that are now canonically gay, which is wonderful, even though there was no information that led us up to that to this point, which having all of a sudden all this queer rep front and center feels like checking boxes, but I feel like I've already screamed about that in this vlog. That's one of the videos that I filmed for this vlog. In that relationship, one of the characters is human and the other one is one of the indigenous peoples of this planet. Shallan is in a very pivotal scene to their relationship, being shown supporting them, which her supporting some of our main characters who are now canonically in a gay relationship. It's reasonable to believe that that can be seen as her being an ally. However, I would argue that she is not an ally, even though she is in support of their gay relationship. Because in book 2, Shallan had slaves who were parshmen. Parshmen is a not appropriate name that was given to the indigenous peoples of this planet by the colonizers, by the humans. And something happened in that book where they died under her care. And I very vividly remember being so upset at a specific scene where she dismissed it as them othering them and basically justifying why she thought that they were the evil villains at that time and didn't acknowledge their deaths. She's like, well, whatever, because they were evil villains anyway. Who cares that my slaves died? Now later on, she comes to find out that she's wrong in a future book, But we never really address that xenophobia. It's not addressed. We get like a one-off lines. I think we had like maybe 2 sentences this entire book. 1,000 pages. Had like 2 sentences. That is not enough for me to think that she is an indigenous ally, because she has been actively xenophobic. And just because she had that thought does not mean that her actions match that thought, because she has done absolutely nothing towards stopping the war on the Shattered Plains. She has done absolutely nothing in support of any of the remaining indigenous peoples and their needs or their causes. Everything has been about her and her trauma and her husband and supporting Kaladin and Dalinar. So because she has had zero action to counteract the destructive behavior that she showed in being callous with her previous slaves, I do not believe that she is an indigenous ally. If she is in support of this gay relationship, she is only in support of the person in that relationship that relates to her culture, that is of her demographic. And again, fantasy books pull from real life situations all the time, especially because this is a story about colonization. If someone calls themselves a queer ally, but does not stand up for marginalized bodies that are also queer, and you only stand for one kind of queer body, you are not an ally. I said what I said. Allyship must extend to all bodies. Prejudice can exist in marginalized communities amongst marginalized peoples when we other ourselves for reasons other than the reason why we are marginalized. So this person who is in a relationship with someone who is a member of her family, she has done nothing to support that person and what they or their family or their community has been through. She is only there because it is in direct support of someone who's within her family. Therefore, I do not see her as an ally. I hate it. It pisses me off. And then the other thing that really grinds my gears is that Moash appeared again. And I feel like Moash should be really way more relevant in this book, especially because how book 4 ended. The one thing that I once again said I didn't want to happen is happening, where Moash, who is essentially been coined like the traitor of Kaladin, the traitor of the Alethi, of the Bridge 4 and all these things, right? He's the only one who's spitting facts. He's the only one who's like, down with the system, down with the Alethi, down with humans, because y'all are prejudiced and y'all are oppressive. And all of the other characters, the main characters, are like, yeah, but you're a traitor. And I'm like, those two things don't equate with the way that you need them to. They really don't. Like, I don't know what you think that is as a comeback, but it's really not a comeback, because humans really do suck, and humans have not done any of the work. Just because you're saving the world from evil doesn't mean that when that's over, that everything's hunky-dory. The reason why this sticks out to me so much is because we have had multiple lines, both from Navani and from other characters, who have essentially said that the light eyes and dark eyes problem isn't really a thing anymore. That it's kind of resolved, that it was kind of resolved in book 4 when like the light eyes and dark eyes had to come together, with Urithiru and everything that happened. And so like fantastical racism and classism and prejudice is not really a problem anymore. So Moash is making something a problem that he's stuck in the past. He is stuck in the past because he is a member of the oppressed class who has not gotten over the fact that that systemic oppression is solved already, according to them. According to the characters that were following around, our main characters are like maybe heroes. I don't know if they're heroes. If they're not heroes, doesn't matter. I don't know if that argument sounds familiar to you, but it sounds very familiar to me. And I hear that argument all the time from people who say systemic racism doesn't exist anymore. And I'm like, honey boo boo, yes it does. There are people who think that Black and brown people are arguing for civil rights and against systemic oppression and fighting for equity over systems that ceased to be oppressive based on race back like by the civil rights movement. That's worked its way out of our socio-political climate and out of our economic functions. And that's not true. That is not true at all. I've heard this argument so many times that when I saw Brandon Sanderson, I don't even know if he's conscious that that's what he's doing, but I see it glaring and it really upsets me. It really bothers me. So I don't know where this whole Moash thing is going, but I'm really sick of it not leading anywhere constructive for Moash. Letting him work through his trauma, but also letting our Alethi characters and our human characters work through their colonization, work through the fact that they now know they're the assholes. What do we do with that information to improve our society? We haven't had time for that, but we've had time for lots of other things. We've had time for a wedding, to revisit a wedding. We've had time to go on a 10-thing quest with Seth, and Kaladin has had pages and pages and pages of playing therapist. We've had time for all that, but we haven't had time for anything else. In 1,400 pages, we haven't had time for anything else. And if you don't get out of my face, I'm so sick of this book. I can't wait for it to be over. Okay, I look like a fucking potato. I don't care. It's like a next day or whatever. I don't remember. Okay, this is the stupidest climax that I've ever read in my entire life. I've been sitting here for 10 minutes crying because it's so stupid. Okay. So Kaladin's fighting Ishar. He gets up and it says, and Stan Kaladin did, and it's like all Syl and Seth or wherever, they're all like on the floor and they look at him. They look at him. And Ishar says, "What are you? Are you his friend? Are you a god?" And Kaladin says, "No, I'm his therapist." This is so stupid. I'm gonna cry. I'm crying. It's so bad. It's so bad. Ishar says, "What is that?" And Kaladin says, "I have no idea." Oh my god. This is the worst written book I've ever read. I gotta go. I finished a couple days ago, and I've never felt like I've wasted more time in my life. This might be the worst book that I've ever read. It was so unsatisfying. How is it simultaneously the longest book that I've ever read and also the most poorly fleshed out? Like, that's it? That's the ending. That's the cliffhanger. There's no gravitas. There's no weight to anything. What was all of that for? I don't get it. I don't get it. I would love to know what the editor's notes were. I would love to know which notes were accepted, which ones were rejected, if he took any suggestions. I would love to know what kind of beta readers he has, for what demographics, for checking what kind of representations, just like everything. I would love to know, because this book is a dumpster fire. It is absolutely atrocious. So like the whole Gavinor thing came so almost out of left field. Like, as we started to get deeper into the days and we started seeing flashbacks in which Gavinor was like, Grandpa, how could you? It just became so obvious where this was going. And so when it happened, I was like, why? Like, I get it. But I'm so bored. I'm so bored. That ending, that climax, was boring. It was stupid. Jasna's argument with Taravangian and, what was their name? Fen, I think. Stupid. Boring. I felt nothing for that. A waste of her character. Adeline losing his leg, and then like, oh, don't worry, we can just magically have people put it back on later, but here's a peg leg. But also, like, you're gonna be really good at using it because you've been a worry this whole time, so, like, fine. Oh, okay. Feels a little bit ableist. But sure. Sure, let's go with that. Absolutely no gravity to that situation. Kaladin becoming therapist to, like, 3 people? For what? For why? He never gets the chance to really just unpack, process what the hell he's been through. And it's like, after saying another oath, I just feel like each of these books just ends with another oath, and I'm like, so kind of I'm just done with it. I'm done. It's so boring. How is he gonna be like, I need to take care of myself before I can protect others, and like whatever the hell he said. I don't remember the words exactly because I don't care anymore. But just like, how are we gonna have this oath and then have him still pick up the mantle and become Herald? So he's still taking on the brunt of the burden for everybody. I hate it so much. I hate the the whole like Renarin, Relaine, all of a sudden nobody sees color anymore, and like systemic oppression and like slavery and racism is all just like solved. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. It's all just solved some magical way because nobody cares anymore, because light eyes and dark eyes are the same. Indigenous oppression was like, that's so in the past. I can't with this. Everything that needed to be addressed was not addressed, or thrown under the rug, or made to seem insignificant. The arcs that they went through in the previous books just felt like they landed so flat. This was just such poor writing. And like, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter if anybody dies, because there could come back in some way, shape, or form in some other realm, spirit realm, that is now a thing. Unlocks so many possibilities that people could potentially get back, and like, who knows? Who cares? Not me. I don't care. I hate this book. All this tension about Dalinar and carrying his book to meet with Taravangian, and, you know, him having written a book and reading and all this stuff. Like, all this supportive moments of men breaking boundaries and breeding, right? Great. Fine. Navani making a comment about how men are, like, oppressed in the society. Like, an annoying moment for me, because I don't think enough time was spent about how Alethi women are oppressed in Alethi society. It's just, it feels like a weird place to spend most of our time and give most of our attention to. And I feel like the reason it was given so much attention was because everything has to end with, this is why Dalinar is great, even if it doesn't directly say that. What's implied is that Dalinar is the best. So, like, everything has to be like, if Dalinar was here, but Dalinar did it, but he did it first, but he is great, he's breaking boundaries and all these things. It just feels like so many wasted opportunities. We could have had so many good conversations about the flaws, cultural practices, the sexism. No, but we don't. We get none of it. It's just floating in the wind. It's gone. Because we have bigger, badder evil to fight. What was the point? I will never recommend this book. I'm giving it a 0. I'm giving it a 0. I'm recording this after talking about it with my friends, and congratulations to us for making it a year of rereading this series and finally being able to say why it's one of the worst series that I've ever read. And if you've made it to this point, thank you for following me on this year-long journey if you've been here since the beginning. And if you're finding this after, welcome. I'm free. I'm free. But if you enjoyed this, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. Consider supporting my channel by becoming a channel member or a patron or leaving a comment or anything or just saying hello. Anyway, I post videos whenever I feel like it. Thanks for watching. Bye.
To make it